The Hall of Fame Award is designed to recognize candidates who've demonstrated an entrepreneurial spirit and have a record of outstanding contributions and achievements throughout their career in the construction industry. Now, I'll ask you to please take a look at the screen behind me. Tonight's Hall of Fame inductee is Mr. Scott Granville, past chair of the NLCA.
From university and met Scott right away and started working with him that summer. He hired me after a 30-minute chat, and I moved from St. John's within 2 weeks. So I started working with Scott a long time ago. So Scott was wonderful to work with. He was definitely a wonderful employer. I wouldn't trade my time working with Scott.
I got to know Scott. We're both graduates, both around the same year of civil engineering technology in the Kona program. He's been in business basically for himself, running it. He's been a competitor of mine. He's been a friend. And he's also been a gentleman that I could call for, get support or get advice over the years. You know, he's a very knowledgeable individual and been involved in a lot of things in the construction.
Scott Granville is a man who has so much dignity. I have so much respect for him. He was a mentor to myself in construction, and as well as a mentor when I was involved with the Construction Association as chair. We had many conversations. He was always there to guide me and give me his advice, and I greatly appreciated it.
All of our team, still today, we still are in communication, and everybody got the utmost respect for Scott. He definitely earned that from all of us. He was always respectful and fair. Definitely gives his all to whatever he's doing. So he gave his all to his team and the construction industry as a whole. You won't say he's very patient or a good teacher, but I for one disagree with that. He'd always make a joke about his lack of patience and how he's not a good teacher, but he taught me a heck of a lot.
Scott and I go back many years. We got to know each other through construction, through projects that we've done together. Scott is a very good person to deal with, a great company. He has a lot of good traits. We've worked together as volunteers with the Newfoundland Labrador Construction Association, and Scott is past chair as well as myself. We've been to a lot of meetings involved with the Canadian Construction Association as well, and we became friends.
He was definitely considerate of us all and our personal challenges. I think he knew my kids just as well as most of our family. One thing about him that I'll always remember is his dry sense of humor. He tried to tell lots of jokes, but we always end up laughing at him trying to tell them.
It's very important, the recognition that someone that has spent so much time, he gave up the time away from his family, his business, to come in here and help as a volunteer, you know, to an industry that he made his livelihood, but also to help other people, to help the industry in that. So for me, it was a great contribution. And to honor him this way by inducting him into the NLCA Hall of Fame, I think is quite the honor.
If I could sum up Scott, it would be he, like I said, he was fair, he was respectful, he was a great mentor, and any association that you had with him as a person or as a business owner, you walked away feeling good.
Well, I think it's a pleasure for me to be able to say a few good words on Scott's behalf. He's somebody that I always looked up to, and if I wanted to get an opinion, I would ask Scott, and he would certainly give me his honest truth. And I can only say congratulations to Scott. He well-deserving, a great person, a great contractor.
He took a 24-year-old young woman right out of school, and he gave me every opportunity, every support, every encouragement that I could have hoped for. And my success in this industry is, I give it fully to Scott. I definitely wouldn't be where I am without him.
It's nice when someone who worked for so long and so hard within the industry to make it better for not only just his company, but for Gander and for the province. His passion for construction, as well as, I think he was a trailblazer as well when it came to women in construction. He employed many women within the Construction Association, which was, like I said, almost ahead of his time.
Scott, congratulations on being inducted into the NLCA Hall of Fame, an honor that is well deserved. Congratulations and all the best.
I'd also like to call upon Stephanie Granville and Tony Granville to join me up here on stage, and they're going to say a few words and accept this award on their father's behalf.
I'm incredibly proud and excited to see the NLCA recognize and celebrate our dad's career by inducting him into the NLCA Hall of Fame.
Thank you to Gale Force Winds for putting together the video we just watched, celebrating Dad, and to all of those who took the time to share their thoughts and stories. And thanks also to NLCA for the invitation to share our thoughts on his work ethic, what family means to him, and what it means to us to see him inducted into the NLCA Hall of Fame.
In Dad's nearly 40 years of work in the construction industry and over 25 years running Granco and LSG Construction, he left an undeniable mark on the town of Gander, on communities across the province, and on the lives of many people he worked with. The mark that he left on the town of Gander is particularly noticeable when you take a drive down Airport Boulevard. In his career, I think he must have done work on at least 80% of the commercial properties from the airport all the way down to Cobb's Pond. Still, what's more impressive is the way that he carried himself in conducting his business. I admire his work ethic, how reliable and available he's always been for anyone who needed him, at work and at home, and how his conduct created a reputation that opened doors for himself and his family. As to his work ethic, for as long as I remember, Dad maintained pretty regular working hours from Monday to Friday between 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Every morning he'd be up with or before the sun. He'd take a brisk walk around town to organize his thoughts and plan out his day before the phone would start ringing between 8 and 9 a.m. He would almost always be home for supper with the family around 5:30 p.m. before he started snoring, laid back in the recliner sometime after Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. Even though he worked long hours, I don't remember him missing many hockey practices or games when I was growing up. Dad may have spent a lot of time away from the office for my hockey, our family vacations, and to spend as much time as he could on the golf course, but he rarely stopped working. When I was 11 or 12, we went to Halifax for a hockey tournament, and by the end of the trip, all the kids would call out Granco in unison every time his phone rang, because they heard him answer his phone with that greeting so many times over the course of the trip. But more seriously, it was while we were in the car on these trips that I listened in on countless calls and observed the calm and measured way that he solved problems and carried on his business that I grew to admire.
I know that management of a business and construction projects are both very stressful roles. We didn't typically travel during the summers, the busy construction season, but made regular trips to Florida as a family in the winter. I came to understand as an adult how hard it would have been for him to relax and have a break from work, while part of his thoughts were still back in the office or on the job site, wondering what was happening in his absence and troubleshooting challenges as they inevitably arose.
Once we reached working age, it was easy to find work because Dad had worked with and left a good impression on so many business owners in Gander and across the province. Whether it was Honda in Gander, Hickman Motors in St. John's, or GJ Cal in Bull Arm, I ended up landing a job because Dad made a call and opened a door for me. Though I don't think I was being hired because anyone owed him a favor, as much as it was because they expected Scott Granville's kid to be a hard worker and someone who's good to work with. With each of these opportunities that he created for me, I felt it was important to earn my keep and prove myself as a hard worker, and more importantly, not to tarnish Dad's reputation with his clients or colleagues in the industry.
While neither my brothers or I worked directly for him, we all benefited by gaining work opportunities through his vast network. Dad's connection to James Loader through NLCA helped me to get my first position with Academy Canada, which then led me to working for them for 7 years. Through my work, I've had the opportunity to have multiple connections with NLCA. When I'm in the NLCA boardroom, I'm proud to see his picture on the wall with the other past chairs, to see that he is a part of the association's legacy. I think this award is a great way to acknowledge his contributions to the association and recognize what he's accomplished throughout his career. Dad has always valued family. I know it was important to him to be able to run his business in partnership with his brother and best friend for many years. They operated a true family business where even those who weren't related were treated like family. When Dad was on the road for work or NLCA activities, Mom was the one holding down the fort at home. To raise us the way they wanted, our parents decided that Mom would stay out of the workforce. It was a motivator for Dad to have his business prosper in order to provide opportunities for his family. It was their collective actions that have enabled us to pursue whatever we wanted, from extracurricular activities to what we chose to study. Education has always been a high priority for our parents. Their support and encouragement has led to our completion of the three of us children of a combined nearly 30 years of post-secondary education and 8 university degrees. Our parents moved into St. John's about a year ago, and I'm grateful to have them here and to spend time with them regularly. I know a highlight of Dad's week is returning to the rink, getting to watch my 7-year-old son Simon at his weekend hockey practices, and to be a part of his day-to-day life.
Our brother Kevin also has a few words for us to share. Kevin's now working at the University of Windsor in Ontario as a statistics professor. Kevin says that our parents have been great role models to him, and that one of his goals is to live up to the example that they've set for us. He says that our parents continue to motivate him to go above and beyond for his students, and he hopes to leave a positive impact on their lives the same way that Dad has left a positive impact on so many people that he's worked with. Thank you to the NLCA for giving us the opportunity to reflect on and celebrate Dad's career, to the staff of the Sheraton for their hospitality this evening, and to my dad for pushing us, opening doors, and continuing to support us in our own careers.
Regrettably, Dad was unable to be here with us this evening to accept this award and witness our celebrations of his career. He and Mom are off enjoying retired life on the beach in Florida. He did, however, record a message for us to share that I think we'll get an opportunity to see shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to sincerely thank you for honoring me by inducting me into the NLCA Hall of Fame. I appreciate the acknowledgement and regret that I'm not able to be present for the awards gala. Coming to the end of a 4-decade career causes one to reminisce a little. You first recognize how quickly the time has passed, but after all these years, hopefully you can see the fruits of your labors and feel you've accomplished and contributed something. After a few years of constructive education, I learned it was probably more beneficial for me to lay down the hammer and stick to the pencil. Some of you know my journey. A short stint with CCOM was followed by joining my father Jack in JG Construction. Jack's 2 decades of experience in the field gave me a good foundation to build upon. My brother Brad also joined us, and eventually Brad and I branched out on our own with Granville Construction in the middle of the 90s. After Brad's retirement, I continued my own as LSG Construction. Not only was I able to have a full career in construction, but I remained based in Newfoundland and traveled to all corners of the province along the way. From Gander to projects in Clarenville, St. John's, Marystown, Harbour Breton, Port aux Basques, Deer Lake, the communities go on and on. Our Butler Building connection also gave us the opportunity to complete a few projects off the island in Alberta and Grand Cayman. We were asked to return to Grand Cayman after Hurricane Ivan to help them rebuild. That was an interesting and challenging environment to work in, and fortunately, some of our guys were willing to take on that adventure. I am proud I was able to stay at home to work, but this place also has its challenges. The snowy blanket might look beautiful, but it wasn't welcome on site. Sunny, rainy, gray, mossy or pea soup fog sometimes had 4 seasons in one workday. It takes a village to build a village. I've been privileged to work with many skilled and dedicated Newfoundlanders on both public and private projects. To build or renovate our hospitals, schools, churches, banks, airports, stores, and many car dealerships for which we were highlighted by Butler Canada. Early in my career, I knew that I wanted to be involved in NLCA. The organization provided valuable contacts for support and networking in the industry. I was interested in contributing to and supporting the organization in return. I went on to hold more than 15 board positions over the years, including my term as chair in 2006. I was able to have my voice heard and work along with like-minded individuals to advance the needs of the construction industry. One valued connection was with Ron Hickey and Carol Green as we joint ventured for projects in the Gander area. During my time with the board, the electronics plans room was implemented, meaning less physical locations for viewing plans was needed. With change, there is often a negative perception. The closing of some NLCA offices was met with concern. However, this innovation enhanced the day-to-day running of the organization and enabled easier access to plans and specifications for member firms province-wide. During my involvement, I witnessed the membership more than double, having more voices and input introduces more perspectives for our industry. I appreciate the community and friendships made along the way. Firstly, John Sparks and Harry Bartlett as my chair bookends and CCA travel mates. But also appreciation goes out to all other chairs as mentors, particularly Aubrey Drover, whose calm, kind professionalism and advice was so appreciated. One day, Aubrey reminded me that it's still a small world with a story about finding Newfoundlanders abroad. He and Bev were on Grand Cayman and found themselves at greater distance than they were comfortable with from the cruise ship. Taking a cooling break in a local grocery store, they heard a familiar accent from home. They soon made the connection, as we were quick to do around here, and our visiting Granco workers were happy to return our fellow Newfoundlanders back to their home away from home at the port. Lara Rossiter ran NLCA during my early years. With the association, it was a great support for me. As Lara's time with the organization was coming to an end, we had an opportunity to meet a new leader who would come to us with a fresh voice and take us forward with new directions. If you recall, Rhonda's arrival would be a bit delayed while she waited for her daughter's arrival, the time in which Lara unselfishly remained at the helm. I think we can all agree that Rhonda was worth the wait, and I found her to be a great asset for NLCA. In later years, I stepped back from the association, but still enjoy the occasional contacts, such as the past chair's dinner, to catch up and reminisce. I've always been willing to champion women in our industry. I'll recognize our women chairs for their help and friendship. Gina Tapper and Rhonda Collins. Rhonda has been a friend and co-worker with her husband and partner, Glenn Collins, for years. And I was very proud to see her involvement with NLCA. A conversation with Gina introduced me to Candace Dominics. Candace came to work with us with Gina's recommendation, and that was one of the best moves I've ever made. I want to thank Candace for being my right hand and being willing to take on any and every challenge, and applaud her choice to join the board after my retirement. In order to participate in NLCA activities, I had the support of family and other employees to cover business activities while I attended meetings. My brother Brad was also a big supporter of NLCA initiatives and was happy to oversee company activities in my absence. He was a great partner and was always there to support the roles that I undertook on the board. Dad came from a generation where many resisted retirement, but he did gradually step back and let us carry things on for him. Sadly, we lost Brad in 2021. Before 2020, I had made the decision to retire from the industry. I'd stopped bidding jobs and had only a few projects to complete when COVID struck. Certainly there were delays, but we got it completed and signed off. With only paperwork remaining, my time was mostly free, except for, of course, no one was free to go anywhere with the pandemic restrictions in place. We've come through that as well, and now Marilyn and I have moved to the city to be close to our children and grandson, and are enjoying the freedom of leisure time and travel. Thanks once again, and all my best to you and yours and your career. Thank you.
He's just got to get a picture of this for Dad. Stay up. He's got to see this standing O. Keep it going, keep it going. Congratulations.